Guys, I'm 54 years old, and I don't have any friends. Now, I have a family, I have a spouse, kids, grandkids, have all that good stuff, right? But I don't have any close friends, and I want to explain on this video exactly why. Let's talk about it. Now, first of all, guys, let me say this, okay? Nothing wrong with having friends, right? I just don't have a lot of super duper duper close friends, and I've never been that way. But for me, I don't know about the rest of you guys watching this, but for me, I get more fulfillment and more joy out of having a small social circle.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to another session with the older man. Today we're going to talk about friendships. You know, this video was recommended to me by one of my followers, and it comes from this channel. Smart Money Bro has around 363,000 subscribers, and this gentleman seems to be doing well on YouTube. And brother, I commend you. I love this video. I just have a few things I want to say about the video because I have a few differences of opinion, and I want you guys to also hear me out on what he's saying. In certain respects, I understand what he's saying, but I also want to give you guys a wider picture. I'm not going to play the whole video because I also want you guys to go over there to support his channel as well. But brother, I love the video. And so, my friends, I want to talk about friendships as we get older, especially as men, okay? Subscribe if you haven't already. Pick up my Content Creators Toolkit. Get out there and produce your own content. Whether it's a YouTube channel or whether it's a book or a course, I want you guys to get out there and start producing your own. I'm telling you guys, it's better for you to start creating digital products that will give you passive income as we get older. As we approach our later years, I can tell you, man, that 401k and social services are not going to be enough to make your life comfortable. You need multiple streams of income. Start producing it today, all right? And of course, you can book a chat with me if you'd like help or any assistance with any of these things. Okay, so let's get into this particular video.
As opposed to, you know, when you were young, you like to have a lot of friends and be around a lot of people and all that. But for me, I just get more joy. The older I get more joy out of being alone more, right? And I just need less and less people to feel good, right? When you're younger, it's like you have this thing. We have this thing in our society. I don't know about all societies, but we have this thing in our society that says, if you don't have, you should have a lot of friends. And if you don't have a lot of friends, something's wrong with you. And this kind of gets beat into our heads when we're in elementary school and we're 8, 9, 10 years old, 15 years. What's the first thing you always ask a 5-year-old when they start going to school? Well, have you made any friends? Do you know any friends? Like, it's a lot of pressure to have this larger social circle of people around you from an early age.
So I got to stop it and sort of explain this whole idea of why it's important for kids to have friends when they're young. Human beings are social creatures. We have adapted this attitude in a modern society that we don't need people. But back in the day, we were a village. We couldn't survive without each other. We still can't survive without each other. It's just that everything has been segregated and we pay for the functions of others. You don't pay your friends to come and help you do something that you usually have to pay for, right? Back in my day, for example, my father and the neighbors around him, on Christmas Day, all collectively came together. None of them were family members, but they were all within the neighborhood. The whole neighborhood got together and had, little parties, little get-togethers. But they all contributed. Somebody brought some liquor. Somebody brought the meat. Somebody bought some cakes. Someone bought the pot of rice. In America, I think they call them either like a block party or, you have neighborhood parties that you get together. But this didn't just occur like on Christmas or Thanksgiving or any of these things. These occurred regularly. Somebody's birthday. I remember when my father was building his house. He was a bartender, for Christ's sake. He wasn't making a lot of money. But a case of beer on the weekends or late evenings when everybody got off of their regular job, they came over and they helped my father build his house. Solid block concrete house. Still own that house today, 60 years later. Right? He didn't have to go to the bank to borrow money. His friends came together collectively to help him out. But without those friends, he wouldn't have been able to build this house for him and his family. We have to understand that friendship had a purpose, but those friendships had to be developed from a very young age. We had to understand from the age of 5, 6, the second we got into school, how do we engage other people? So we had to encourage our kids to develop skills. Remember that, skills to interact with other human beings. So when we said to our kids, hey, have you made any friends? We're trying to get our kids to learn how to get along with other kids, because this was known and still an essential part of human development. Human development. This is the same problem we're having in relationship. When you have not been in a relationship for a while, your relationship skills atrophy, shrink, disappear. Having friends basically means getting along with another human being is an essential part of a kid's development, because that then translates into relationships, business networking, and business interaction. Having friends and learning those skills to interact socially are important skills to learn from a very young age. No one wants to be that loner kid that had no social skills and never made any friends. No parent want that for their kids. So that's why they made sure that they asked the kids, have you made any friends yet? Because they're trying to determine if the child has developed any social interactive skills.
But for me, at the age of 54, it gives me personally more freedom and more time to focus on my personal growth. More time to focus on my own hobbies and things that I enjoy and like doing. And it also gives me really more time to think about who I want to help and how I want to help other people.
Here's a problem as we get older, and all studies have shown this. As we get older, we become more and more socially isolated. Lonely old man, isolated people become more depressed. They don't live as long as individuals who actually have a social circle. And it's just part of who we are as a species. We are a social species. So any social species that isolates themselves are outside of their natural self. We're not designed to be antisocial. But as we get older, we become less tolerant of BS. So what happens is that we tend to start to isolate ourselves. But there's something else that occurs. When we're in school, our circle of friends and people who have, shared interests are very close to us, right? We all go into the same school, we go into the same classes, we play in the same sports, we're on the same team. Yes, we have all of this interaction because we have a lot of friends. I've been witnessing it with my 2 daughters. As my daughter, who's now 18 and who's doing her A-levels, and she's a senior in high school for the Americans, her circle of friends have shrunk significantly. I remember when we were throwing birthday parties, she had a whole pile of friends, and both of them had a whole bunch of friends that they used to invite, and she always had these bunch of friends who were inviting her to all of their parties. The freaking nightmare trying to shuffle them to one party, one house party after the next every weekend. Oh, this one is inviting her there, this one is inviting her there. And of course, having 2 daughters, 2 different age groups, this was multiplied. So trust me, my wife and I were just constantly moving around with the kids, right? But as they got older, it's now down to a handful, maybe 4 or 5 friends. And this, unfortunately, as they then enter into college, then you have to find a new group of friends, and usually you'll end up with 1 or 2. And then as you enter into the workplace, most of the people at work are bitches and bastards anywhere who are just trying to cut your throat to get your job. So you tend to isolate yourself even more. And lo and behold, if you're in a big city, you're even more isolated. So what has happened is we have become accustomed to this departmentation, or living apart. We live in apartments. I've brought this up before. We now live in such isolation, most of us don't even know our own neighbors. You tell me if you know your neighbors. Most of you don't. When I moved into this neighborhood, I needed to know who my 2 next door neighbors were. I wanted to know if my daughters were going to be safe. I wanted to know their faces. I wanted to know their cards. I wanted to know everything about them. So I introduced myself so that I know everybody right around me. Listen, I did that more for self-defense purposes. But my neighbors are actually quite nice. So I ended up being friends with them. So sometimes we go walking around the lake and we exercise together and we have a chat about life. And that makes life less lonely for all of us, right?
To be honest with you, having less friends really means less problems and less distractions.
He is right. Having less friends means less problems, less distraction, but that's also a lazy way of looking at life. Everything in life will distract you. You need to ask yourself, well, what reward am I getting from being a friend with this person? And we also have to understand that friendship is a two-way street. You can't just use a person for your comfort, but not pour into that friend as well. This is a problem with a lot of Western society. Everybody says, I'm not getting anything out of this friendship. Because like most relationships and friendships, everybody's looking for what they can get out of it. Rarely do they realize that they have to pour something back into their friendships and relationships to keep it good and to keep that person interested. They just look at anything that they got to do to maintain that friendship or relationship as work, as a bother. But they expect to get something back, which is the most selfish way to look at relationships or friendships. Whether it's with a male or female, you have to pour something into that person in order to get something back. So we just look at it as a bother. It's not worth it. But in essence, this is life. We got to give something to get something. And the thing is, he knows this because he says, I can now spend time to pour into helping others. Why do you want to help a stranger when you can actually have a good relationship with another person that's pouring into you as well and you're getting something out of it? Why would you think that, okay, you know what, I'm going to pour into my two absolute strangers when, Bob right across the street, he's a good guy. He needs a drinking buddy every once in a while. He needs a buddy at the gym. He needs to, vent sometime, and he needs to talk about the shit that goes on in his marriage. He needs that comfort. He needs that closeness. And you know what? You need that as well. Instead of spending a shitload of money on a therapist, you need that. Bob is there to help you. You know what? Bob have that lawnmower that you only use once or twice every month. You can borrow that and give it back to him. He has anything that you don't have and vice versa. And you guys can save money by sharing equipment. So there's a lot that comes out of a friendship if you pour into it. But we live in a selfish-minded society where we just constantly think that I'm not getting anything out of this. Where you can actually train, yes, I'm going to use that word. Train your friend to actually work with you on anything else. Work with your friend to make him know that, hey, Bob, I'm here for you, man. Anything you need, I'm here for you. And Bob almost feels obliged to reciprocate because that's what most normal humans do, especially men on men. You know what? You got an emergency at work. Oh, there's a problem over here. You know Bob next door. Hey, Bob, can you take care of my kids? My wife and I need to do this, X, Y, Z. Boom, done. That stranger that you're helping in some organization, they're not going to do that for you. My mother and father worked, but they had 5 kids. When we came home from school on some certain days and neither of them were at home, the neighbors were the ones that made sure that we were okay. They made sure that everything was safe. The friends. So this idea of friends being a burden or a problem or a headache is just because you have not thrown much else into it. You haven't put anything else into it in order to get that sense of reciprocation.
Right there, there's a lot less distractions when you don't have this group of 10 or 20 or 30 people that you have to focus on and you have to put energy into.
You don't have to have 30 friends. That's hard to maintain. And now we're talking about levels of friendships. Sure, I know 30 people, but I have 4 friends that I've known since I was 12 years old. And those guys, regardless of where I am or how I am, if I have a problem, I know I can call on any one of them at any time. And I know that if I need money, if I need any help, that they're going to make sure that I'm taken care of, that they're going to help me, and vice versa for men. So we have to understand what friendships are. We have to first define what we mean by friendships, because you cannot make new old friends. So you have to understand that the friendships that you have maintained from the time you were in high school, if any of you done that, those are your good old friends. Those are the people that are going to be attending your funeral. Those are the people that are going to make sure that if anything happened to you, they know you inside out because they've had history with you that they're going to protect you. They're like your family. Even though you might not see them physically in a long time, you keep in touch with them constantly. I have those guys in my WhatsApp group or my Facebook group, and it doesn't matter we know we know our birthdays, we sending birthday wishes, we're anything happening. One of these guys' brother died a couple weeks ago, and we were there for him, you know. We weren't there physically, but we were there psychologically for him. He knows that he could talk to us. Most of the time, we don't burden each other with a lot of crap, but we exchange great memes. And anything happening, we're there, right? And then you have the other group of friends that basically they're newer friends that you've established relationships with. But because we are constantly in a transient society, this is normal. So I've been here in Dubai. I have 2 friends that I've known well over 10 years. Started out as a working relationship, and it grew into a friendship. If he's sick or if he has a problem, I'm there for him. And this works on both fronts. And then from there, the next group of friends are people that you meet on a regular basis. And you develop these friendships, like my neighbors, right? And these are what I call my proximity friends. These are the people that are close to me in proximity. So I interact with these people. So we have to understand how to define your type of friends, because each type of the friends have a specific purpose for you. And also you need to understand how you're going to pour back into those friends as well to maintain a reciprocal relationship. But do not, for God's sake, do not give up your friendships. Work on them. They demand work, yes, but you also get a lot in return.
And I've noticed, as I've gotten older, that my spirit and my soul and my peace of mind has become really more important for me to protect than almost anything else, right? Being able to protect who I am, what I believe in, and the things I do in my own sanity. I just can't be around any old body, and I just can't be in any old social circle or any old social event, right? I just don't allow myself to be around any old circumstance that's going on, any group of people, because hey, if I'm around the wrong person, the wrong part of me might come out.
Then don't put yourself around the wrong person. That's the reality of it. You should be old enough now to assess who is going to be good for you and who's not going to be good for you. Age should dictate that. Experience in life. So those are not friends. Those shouldn't even be considered as possibility of friends. You know what I mean? Point is, my friend, is you select who you want in your life, but to eliminate everyone because some people have irritated you, it's the same thing as saying all women are bitches and I'm not interested in getting married and not interested in having a relationship and I'm going to go MGTOW. I'm just going to be a recluse. It's the same thing. Or a woman saying, if I can't find a top man, I refuse to have a relationship. I'm not settling. It's the same thing. Friendships are no different than relationships. The only significant difference is the gender and the sex. Those are the only two things that are different. Pick your friends carefully. Usually, there's always a symbiotic relationship. We both work together in something, and we're always exchanging energy, or we're exchanging some understanding of life. But that bonding process is important, and it does need some work. In other words, sometimes that friend might need you and you don't really have the energy or the time for it, but you know what? That's your friend, and you need to pour into him when he's down, and vice versa. I can almost guarantee you that when you're in your shit and you need a friend to talk to, go sit down, have a beer with, or just go on a walk with, a lot of times he's not available. I'm talking about male on male friendships right now, because I personally don't believe men and women can be friends. Okay, that's a whole other video. So I don't want to drag this out, but I want you guys to understand that it is important for you to have friends, long-term friends that you've known from childhood. Those are important. If you don't have any of them, then hey, you can't make new old friends. Then you have proximity friends. Your neighbors, your next door neighbor, go knock on his door and say, hey man, I just want to introduce myself because, I've been living here in a while and I don't really know any of my neighbors. Just wanted to introduce myself. Hey, I'm Paul. Nice to meet you. And just want you to know my door is open if you ever need anything. I thought I'd just introduce myself. Most people will go, oh, okay, hi, hello, because they're shocked, because most people live in isolation. But if you're nice enough, most people are more than happy to just introduce themselves, invite them over one evening, just go over one evening and say, hey, having a few beers, having a little barbecue. If I would love for you to drop over. You don't have to bring anything, just bring yourself. People are more than happy to actually get some interaction with somebody in their proximity. If you're looking for friends, go to a gym and just freaking start up a conversation with someone who looks just as lost as you are. Offer to give somebody a spot, strike up a conversation. A lot of men are lonely because they don't have friends. They don't really want a relationship, but they don't have friends either. And that should never be an issue. Business-wise, go to network events, business networking events. You meet people there that you become close friends with. When I first moved to Dubai, that's what I did. I didn't know anyone. I joined a professional business networking club, and we met for breakfast once a week, early in the morning. And I can tell you, I soon became pretty close friends with a lot of people who I meet once a week for an hour and a half. It was great. So my friends, listen, I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to put a link to this video in the description of this particular video. Go over to this channel and check out the rest of the video if you're interested. So my friends, until next time, remember, go out there, find a friend. All right? And always remember, whenever in doubt, always ask an older man. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.